Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Carol and the name of my channel is My Blessed Nest. Today I'm excited to bring you a collab. It's hosted by Jamie over at Board or Bananas, and the name of the collab is the Look for Less Challenge. I've done these before and they're super fun. We are to find something that we want for our home and make it for less than we can buy it for. So I'm all about that. If you haven't ever checked out Jamie's channel, I'll link it below as well as a playlist so that you can check out all of the other creators and see what everybody made. Are you ready to see what I made? Let's get started. I got this wooden object from my dad. He found it in his basement and he has no idea what it was. Well, that's pretty normal at my dad's house. So I decided I was going to use it for my Look for Less. My husband took apart the wooden thing, whatever it was, and he gave me 2 round circles to craft with. So the first thing I did was patch up some holes that was remaining from where the wood was attached that held the 2 pieces together, and I just used some spackle. The name of the spackle I used was DAP, D-A-P, Fast and Final Lightweight Spackling, and it didn't take very long at all to dry. And then I just went on to the next step. I didn't even sand it. For the next step, I wanted the wood to have a stained look, so I took my apple barrel burnt umber and I mixed it with a little bit of water until I got it the consistency that looked like stain. Once I had it mixed to where I thought I wanted it, I tried it and just went back and forth, added a little more water until I got it exactly where I wanted it. Don't be afraid to dip your paintbrush right in the water to smooth it out to give it that stain look. If you notice where I patched, there's little white spots. I'm not concerned about that. That's why I didn't sand it, because this is just a base coat because I'm going to have another paint color on top. I made sure to give the edges a good coat of the paint/stain. Next, I'm using the Apple Barrel Snow White in the matte acrylic, and I'm just going to be taking it and brushing it lightly with very little paint on my brush at a time, and I'm going to brush it lightly over the stained look. And I want to, on purpose, leave some spots that I don't cover completely. If you like the look to be rustic, this is where you'll want to be careful how much paint you apply. If you don't like the rustic look, you could even skip the stain on the first step and just paint it pure white. So whatever you prefer. I do like that rustic old look. So you'll see as we go along how I achieve that. I chose to paint the edges with the white as well. You could leave it with the stain if you like that different two-tone look. I used these 3/4 inch dowel rods, and I had my husband cut off the lengths and then drill some holes in the end for me. I was in the bathroom and saw a wire basket with handles, and I got the inspiration from that basket for these handles. I used the same burnt umber that I used previously to paint the handles, which that's what the dowels are going to become, and I watered it down again to give it that stained look. I gave both of the handles a good coat and the ends of the handles as well, and then let them dry. I love the look of shiplap, so I decided to make my own faux shiplap, and I just took a ruler and measured out every, I think, 1.5 inches is what I did, but you can decide how big you want your lines to be, how far apart you want them to be. And then I just made lines with a ruler and a pencil and made sure I liked how they were spaced. After I had my shiplap lines all penciled in, I simply took a black Sharpie marker and a ruler, and I went over all of the lines with the black marker. Make sure you use a ruler. It's too hard to get the lines straight without a ruler. At this point, I wasn't happy with how black the lines came out and so perfect looking. I wanted them to look old. So I just took the same white paint and I took a stiff bristled brush, knocked off most of the paint, and just very gently covered over some of the black. I didn't want it to go away completely. I just wanted to kind of blur it and make it look less perfect. I had never tried that technique before and I was really happy with how it turned out. Next, I created my pattern for my word gather, and I just did that on Pages on my Mac, and I used the font Zapfino, Z-A-P-F-I-N-O. I am using some blue painter's tape to position my pattern on the wood circle where I want it, and I measure from each side to make sure it's centered. Here I decided to line it up with the ruler to make sure it was level on the circle. And then I added my graphite paper between the pattern and the wood. And then I will trace out the word gather. I did embellish the G a little bit. I didn't think it was quite fancy enough to go with the H. I like to outline my letters in Sharpie if I have the appropriate color to match up with my paint to make it easier to paint the letters. So here I am outlining my letters in black Sharpie. My next step is to paint the letters with apple barrel black and a fine paintbrush. And done with that step, here's what it looks like. This next part ended up being the trickiest part for me. I took the handles that I had already stained and they were dry, and I cut off some twine, and basically I just jammed it in the end where my husband drilled the holes and secured it with some hot glue. It wasn't easy and I had to use different kinds of tools to try to poke it in, but the bottom line was the holes were too small. So my tip is to make the holes a little bit bigger than you think you'll need. And you'll see next where I make the holes in the wood. My husband pre-drilled a couple holes for me and they weren't quite big enough either just to get the twine through. So I made them a little bit larger with my scissors. Here I am threading the twine through the holes that my husband drilled, and then I was able to tie them in a knot on the other side. See how I have it hanging off the side of the table there? And then I just knotted them very well on the other side so they didn't come loose. So I didn't like how perfect and new the word gather looked either, just like with the shiplap lines. So I used the same technique to soften that and make it look older. My last step is I'm going to add these little round balls. They're kind of flat on the bottom so that they won't roll, and I'm going to just hot glue them onto the bottom, and I used a ruler to kind of help me line them up straight. Here's a close-up of my finished project. I have it on my coffee table, and if you stay till the end, I will show you two different ways that I'm going to style it. One on my coffee table and one on my dining room table. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed my content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'd love to have you as part of my YouTube family. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, I'll link that below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.